What's up, everyone? Digon here. Joining me, of course, is Stoic and Make It a Bud. And guys, America's Cup preliminaries done and dusted. And next up, America's Cup. But we had such huge storylines happening throughout the preliminaries. Big names, big matches, and eventually experience prevailed. So let's go into some of the biggest units that ended up being played throughout the preliminaries. First up, we had the Fire Oracle Juno show up a ton here, guys. So Stoic, why did Fire Oracle just all of a sudden become very useful in this matchup?
Not so much become, it has been. Juno is a fantastic unit here. If anybody applies any negative effects to Juno, Juno's going to be able to cleanse those from herself and then heal the team. So usually you'll see lots of units that are currently, usually these AoE cleaves that people are drafting to apply so many things onto the field. And if Juno catches any of those, she's going to be cleansing them from herself, healing up the entire team, which you can also exploit using your artifacts to increase that heal as well. You've got first skill, cycling with so much attack bar. The attack bar was nerfed, but you know what? We still don't feel it. She's able to cycle so much attack bar with that first skill, take advantage of artifacts once again, and do so much additional damage. We've seen this in the like of Raigeki with one of the best Junos in the world, just dealing so much damage with this unit alone.
So Make It a Bud for you, if our friends at home want to appropriately level up their skill set and have a Fire Oracle, how would you rune it?
There's a couple ways to rune the Fire Oracle Juno. The most common one is Despair Revenge on speed, crit rate, HP. Generally in this meta, it needs to be very tanky in order to withstand defense break from the Masha. There's also a couple other ways you can do it. I've seen Despair Nemesis, which is not as good, but also potentially useful. But also one thing it's out there and a lot of high tier players use is Vampire Revenge. Juno ends up being a soloing unit in the teams that don't bring a lot of damage. So Vampire Revenge is something you may see from time to time, but it requires really good vampire runes. So most common one is Despair Revenge, but occasionally you'll see that Vampire Revenge set that looks to solo teams off.
Fire Oracle, that's one way you can level it up. Now, moving to water, it was the Water Druid, Abelio, popping on up here in the Dreams Joses versus El Mimo matchup. What about that one, Make It a Bud, showed up big here in that specific match and just a greater SWC realm?
I mean, just the ability to make it awkward for your opponent to snipe units off, because if they don't take a unit off from 100 or 80% down to 0, Abelio is going to take a turn, whether it's stunned or not, and then that skill 3 Wild Cure heal is just so massive, right? A lot of Abelios have improved healing using their artifacts. So this heal can oftentimes bring a unit from 20% up to like 60 or 70, and it also gives attack bar to your entire team. So if you don't actually kill a unit, you're going to be facing a lot of heat coming back to you. So Abelio makes it very awkward to take units off. And so oftentimes you either need to bring in so much damage that Abelio's heal is not going to be able to prevent the team units from dying, or you just need to be able to find a way to deal with this heal.
Stoic, what is one way that you would deal with the heal, like make up a team composition or units that will be helpful against it, and then let us know how you would rune that one at home.
Well, some units that you could definitely bring against an Abelio, you'll see a lot of people, especially in SWC, they're either going to keep trying to burn through the passive. Obviously, Dominic's going to provide a ton of damage there, that branding effect coming in there, lots of additional hits here, and the passive's going to proc, but you're just going to keep pumping through it. You're going to see even Masha's, pumping damage through other units to proc the passive of the Abelio, and you're just going to keep working your way through units like him. I think Oliver's another good unit. You can also reset it. I mean, the passive's definitely going to pop here still, but just keep pushing things back and keep pushing things through to help get through that passive of Abelio. How are you going to be ruining this unit though? Abelio is going to be ruined up on Violent Will. Violent Will is probably the only way to ruin this thing up, because you want to protect all of your skills, of course, and you want to make sure that you have a little bit of crit rate. Take advantage of his ability to deal damage based off of his defense. So you're going to have some defense on him, but don't forget to have some HP on that unit as well, because you don't want the ability being removed from the field very quickly. So keep that unit alive. Take advantage of his second skill, Wild Blow, which does damage based off of his defense. So Abelio can deal a little bit of damage, but he's also there to keep your team alive.
All right, and then our final element that really popped up, it was over with the Wind weapon master. It's Dominic, who had a couple of games there, but specifically Fallen Flower against Lechonk showed up big. Stoic, obviously Dominic is a name that's been popping up throughout this year, but why has it been popping up so much?
I mean, it's been popping up, and I think Truel had one of the best showings of it. He ran this Dominic so fast to deal so much damage early into the match to then violent proc and just finish units off. Dominic had received a nerf before, but Dominic is still remaining a dominant unit in today's SWC RTA. You're seeing it all over the place. There's just a ton of damage he's able to put out there. There's really nothing you could do about it. There's units that are not even taking advantage of all these hits. Dominic's getting into the field there. So if he gets that additional turn, it is over for whatever unit Dominic has in his sights.
All right, make it a bud. You know what the question's going to be. How do our friends at home optimize their runes to get the most out of Dominic?
I mean, Dominic's less about speed HP attack or speed HP and more about your total stats. So Dominic should probably have around 35k HP at the G2, G3 level with about 1200 defense and a lot of attack. Dominic's, depending on your playstyle, if you like to sit back, you're going to want to tank your Dominic. And if you like to be more aggressive, you're going to want one that is does a lot more damage, and the attack's going to need to be like plus 1200 or so. And Dominic also needs to be on some of your best violent runes so that it can move quickly and move often, and so that hopefully the goal is that if it procs, it can kill a unit.
Well, there you have it. 3 of the most impactful units throughout SWC so far. And one of the great parts about SWC, right? You know what's coming, but then still to see how it's ruined, to see how they're tuned, and to see how it plays out is one of the beautiful things we get to watch every single year. All right, so after 3 days of action, 16 combatants entered, but now we have the top 8 that are vying for the title of America's Cup champion and one of the 2 slots that go to the World Finals. But with all the action done in the rearview mirror, I wanted to ask you guys, what were some of the biggest matches and moments from the preliminaries? And we'll start with you, Stoic.
Well, one of the biggest matches was one of the last matches that we got to watch there in our loser bracket, and that was Dreams Joseph versus El Mimo. In a match where we saw El Mimo winning it 3 out. That is not the results that we ended up seeing here. El Mimo took the very first match, and we ended up having a reverse sweep coming out of Dreams Joseph to get that victory there. We saw the likes of a extremely tanky and extremely well-runed and well-drafted El Mimo not come out on top with Dreams Joseph. Dreams Joseph held his own against one of the best Latin players that we've had in the tournament, and Dreams Joseph showing why he was previous America's Cup champion.
Make it a bud. How about you, man?
I mean, of course, we talk about the Truel Thompson matchup, and that's exactly what I liked. I mean, that could have easily been America's Cup Finals. I mean, 2 of the best players in the world there. Thompson, former runner-up of the Worlds, and Truel, former legend champion. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that. And just to see how units were balanced in the matchup, where you could go cleave, single target threat kill to turn 2 survivability, and seeing how the 2 players use Chung Pungs, use Narshas to balance the threat out was very interesting to see, given the speeds that were brought in and given the percentages to proc and percentages to resist. Really could have gone either way. And of course, ultimately at the end, Truel was able to cleave a lot more and use that to great effect.
Guys, how are you not saying Kaiju number 8 grinding his way on out through the whole year and then sticking to his guns and saying, Dark Archer, that's the play. That's the hill I'm gonna die on, or that's the hill I'm gonna win on and be known as a legend forever. Either way, I'm still happy that he tried it. Didn't quite work out, but still very, very entertaining to watch it. It takes a lot of guts to stick to a game plan throughout the tournament. Those were our favorite moments from the bracket. All right, bracketology update. You all at home get to pick, but so do we. Myself, Stoic, and Make It a Bud, all vying to be the best predictor of outcomes throughout the America's Cup, and playing for the beautiful Chakram Dancer and Boomerang Warrior statues. So there's stakes on the line. Again, we made our picks for the preliminaries, days 1 and days 2. We counted those points already. Now for day 3, we also updated our picks. So let's see how we did. Red envelope, please. Here we go. Bam. Okay. See, it was sealed. Again, to show that there was no tampering throughout. Let's open it up and see how we did. Okay, first up. Make It a Bud. He thought Edward and Thompson would go head-to-head. Obviously, they did. And Thompson would win and predict Truel getting on 3. Perfect top side. Then he thought Topa V and Madream D would go on through, and it would be Topa V making it in. That is incorrect. Falling Flower getting the win over Q Dizzle. That was correct. And he thought Falling Flower would beat LeChonk. He was right. That's 2 perfect guesses so far. And then he thought Dreams Joseph would beat Kaiju, which was correct, but he believed in El Mimo, and so fell a little bit short there. 7 points for Make It a Bud. Now for Stoic. Stoic thought, all right, Thompson's gonna win and Thompson's gonna beat True Whale. Incorrect. He thought Topa V was gonna win, which is true, and that Madream D would make the victory there. That was true, so he had 1 perfect bracket. Falling Flower defeating Q Dizzle, and then Falling Flower making it past LeChonk. That was correct. And then Dreams Joseph making the run. That was correct. 7 points there for Stoic. And then for me, I thought it would be Thompson with the win, and Thompson through. That was incorrect. I thought Hope would beat Madream D, or Hope would beat Topa V. That was wrong. But then I thought Madream D would win, which was true. So we got 1 point there. And then we had I had Q Dizzle going all the way through. That was just not good. And then Dreams Joseph getting the wins on the bottom side of the bracket and moving on through. That was correct. So actually I got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points here for myself. Because, went 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 points for myself. It was 7 points for Make It a Bud, 7 points for Stoic. That puts our total point score at 10 points for me, 13 points for Make It a Bud, and 14 prediction points so far for Stoic. Stoic, how do you do it? Yet again, leading the way.
I mean, hey, you gotta give the skills its props. That's what I'm saying.
Make It a Bud, you didn't believe in Madream D, last year's America's Cup runner-up?
For those of you guys that tuned into the matches, my heart was in one place and head was in the other. I mean, Topa V's a good friend of mine. It's hard to say that he's not going to take it. So obviously got to give him my vote, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to pull through.
And then the other one was Dreams Joseph. You didn't believe in Dreams Joseph. You believed in the mind.
Yeah, I mean, having fought El Mimo a million times on the ladder, not coming ahead many times tells me that El Mimo's really difficult to beat. Somehow Dreams Joseph found a way to do it. I generally have a lot easier time against Dreams Joseph, but both are great players there. But I just didn't think anyone could crack El Mimo like that.
Yeah, well, again, that was one heck of a battle. Dreams Joseph had to dig deep in the strategies. We'll keep an eye on the point total throughout America's Cup over in New York City. My last chance to catch up gives you guys an opportunity to predict who's going to win as well. All right, with the brackets all done and some of our brackets busted, let's take a look at our 8 contenders for the America's Cup to see who's actually a contender and who's pretending. Again, a very unique group of 8 players, some with a lot of experience, a la Dreams Joseph, some making their debut, a la Spires. So guys, who's a couple of names that we should look out for in terms of real chances to not only qualify to the World Finals, but also to win the America's Cup? Let's start with you this time, Nick.
I mean, I think there's a couple strong players out there. I mean, obviously Big V's made it through in the past, but I mean, Truo had a great showing. I think if he can balance his draft out with threat versus turn 2 as he showed this time, I like his odds going into Worlds and doing well against some of the best players in the world. He has the box and the runes to do it. And I actually also like Zepha's chances. I mean, Zepha has shown ingenuity to be able to flex between turn 1, turn 2, beating out El Mimo in a turn 2 battle, and then also playing some turn 1. So I think those are two players I'd watch out for, and very curious to see how they perform at America's Cup.
All right, Stoic, your turn. Who else catches your eye, or is it any of those two guys?
I'm going to say one pick here, and that one pick is going to be Raigeki. Raigeki took some time off from SWC, and he's coming back for blood. I think this is Raigeki's year. He's been playing phenomenally, and I'm expecting him to do really well.
I think for me, it's got to be True Whale, right? I mean, True Whale fell just short last year, and the redemption story's there, and had to climb the mountain that was Thompson to qualify on through. I feel like that, to me, is where I think champions are forged, in that type of fire, in that type of battle. And I don't want to count out Dreams Joseph. Every year we do it, guys. Every year we do it. We're like, Dreams Joseph, he doesn't spend as much as everyone else. His box isn't as great. Like, there's going to be a time where he falters, and he still finds a way. So I'm excited to see if he's able to conjure up something special for New York City. All right, y'all, that does it here for our second episode of Note.txt. Yes, we've got our 8 players, which means we'll have the draw very soon in a future episode. Very exciting because we know how important the draw can be. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode.